So we will now welcome in our Shabbat bride. You can imagine Gail 60 years ago walking down the aisle here. Let's turn to Lechado D, page 20 or 138. And as is our custom, we will sing the first, second, fifth, and ninth verses. When we get to that final verse, we'll rise and turn and welcome her in. Page 20.
Lechado di likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lechado di likrat kala Kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lechado di likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri hitoreri hi ba'orech ui ori Kevod Adonai alayim nida Lechado di likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lechado di likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam besimcha ubesohala Toch ebunei am segula Oi kala Lechado di likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lechado di likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela
turn to the words of the Baruch Hu on page 28 or 146. Turn to page 32 or 150 for these words of love, Ahavat Olam, eternal love.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha
Please be seated. I'd like to invite up next week's Benot Mitzvah, Kaya Wasserstein and Ella Dux, to lead us in words of V'ahavta. These words on page 36 or 154, words from Deuteronomy that are some of the words we're supposed to teach our children well. These almost adults know them very well.
Whenever you're ready, just come.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אדוני אלוהיהם אמת.
We will continue our service, standing firm in our ground, not letting the wind blow us away, hopefully. On page 40 or 158, words of Micha Mocha.
מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. איי 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 אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Offer our prayer for shelter and protection, prayer of peace, and a sense of renewed life each morning when we wake up. Hashkivenu is on page 42 or 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך.
As we turn to page 46 and begin the opening words of the Amidah together, our standing prayer, I'll invite those who are able to rise up however they are able. We'll sing the first few blessings together and then take some time for our own private prayer, perhaps a private meditation, or if you want, you can use the words on the page in any language you are comfortable with. And once you've finished your prayer, you can be seated, but we'll begin together on page 46.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei Hakol Ve'zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
52.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continue to ourselves through page 63.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי, וגואלי.
When we gather together on Shabbat, it's an opportunity to come together in community, to enter into rest and reflection, but also to draw on the strength of the coming together, to draw on the strength of our community, particularly in moments in which we need strength, when we are perhaps ourselves in need of healing, or when we are worried about somebody who themselves needs healing of body or spirit. And so on this Shabbat, we'll sing the words El Na Rafana La. You can find them on page 373, but those are the words El Na Rafana La. God, I pray.
Ana
El Na Rafana La. God, please heal her now. And this week, our thoughts of healing and our prayers for healing go out to M.A. Allen, Julie Arnheim, Yolanda Azucena, Steve Bauman, Susan Carlson, Rabia Ergelin, Reese Francis, Mary Lou Garfinkel, Jim Gill, Selena Glader, Faith Gobedy, Richard Heinz, Moritz Huppert, Marvin Jones, Andreas Judas, Toby Kay, Harold Muckamal, Eva Norman, Sophia Palisban, Dr. Mark Perlroth, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Peggy Pizzo, Karina Rossner, Howard Schwartz, Chaim Yehuda Ben Chana Bela, Stephen Avraham Simon, David Baruch Ben Simona, Danielle Villasenor, Katie Wilson, Marie Wolf, and Kathy Zweibelman. If there's someone who you are thinking of this Shabbat, I invite you to say their names out loud. Bring them into our community.
Ana elna refana la. Ana elna. Try that with me. Ana elna refana la. Ana elna. 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 Ana elna refana la. Ana elna.
As is our custom throughout the summertime, we're continuing our series of inviting congregants to speak, sharing different aspects of their lives, whether professional or personal, or sometimes a blend of the two. And so it's my honor tonight to invite up our speaker tonight, David Levin. I've known David for quite a while now, pretty much since we moved to town. Our sons were in preschool together and now are quite good friends many, many moons later. And by trade, David practices law, but I think one of the most fascinating aspects of his legal practice for a number of years, and I think this is some of what you're talking about tonight, so I don't want to give too much away. One of his biggest clients was Burning Man, handling the contracts and all of the various legal aspects of putting on a massive concert, building a city in the middle of the desert, and definitely has fascinating stories about that as well. So I won't say too much more. It's my pleasure, David, to welcome you up to our bima.
did Burning Man's Larry Harvey find the lost commandments? So who can forget that scene? Can everyone hear me? Okay. Who can forget the scene from History of the World Part 1 when Mel Brooks, dressed as Moses, comes down from Mount Sinai and proclaims, "All pay heed, Lord, the Lord Jehovah has given you these 15." Boy, we know what happens next. He drops 5 of the commandments on the ground, and without missing a beat, he says, "Behold these 10 commandments for all to obey." So I was 17 years old when I saw that movie, and I was an inquisitive young teenager, and my first question was, what were those other 5 commandments? Furthermore, how do we know there weren't more? Moses is an old man. How do we know he didn't stumble and drop 5 more on the way down? Well, we know from biblical scholar Brooks that there were more than 10 commandments, and I wonder to this day what those other commandments were. We may be in luck because our local popular culture might have come up with the answer. In 2004, the founder of Burning Man, Larry Harvey, articulated 10 principles that would become the spiritual underpinnings for Burning Man. Now, for those of you who have never heard of Burning Man or Larry Harvey, Burning Man it's just like the musical Brigadoon. Out of nowhere, a city appears. There are women with colorful dresses. There are men wearing kilts with no underwear. And after 7 days, the city disappears, only to reappear again in the future. No, but seriously, Burning Man is a temporary city and an experiment in temporary culture with the goal of to translate that culture that came out of this event in the desert into the larger world. The underpinnings of Burning Man, as I said, are these 10 principles, which I just want to share with you in summary form. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about a couple of them in detail. The 10 principles of Burning Man are as follows: radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, community effort, civic responsibility, leaving no trace, participation, and the 10th is immediacy. Immediacy, right now. So now that you know these 10 principles of Burning Man, I asked you to ponder with me, could these 10 principles be the missing 10 commandments that Moses dropped on his way down from Mount Sinai? Well, Rabbi Heath referenced that I'm a lawyer, so I'm going to give you a lawyer-like answer. And that answer is, it depends. But I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to reformulate the question, something that lawyers do all the time. They change the question to fit the desired answer. And I'm going to do that again. To me, the more personal question is, are any of Burning Man's 10 principles suitable for adoption as social commandments for our Beth Am community? And my answer to that is a resounding yes. I believe there are at least 3 principles that our Beth Am community can and should adopt as social commandments. The first is radical inclusion, and I'm going to read to you what radical inclusion is. Anyone may be a part of Burning Man. We welcome and respect the stranger. No prerequisites exist for our community, for participation in our community. Well, how does that apply to our Beth Am community? Well, it's similar. Just like you don't need an invitation or to be vouched for by anyone to become a member of the Burning Man community, you don't have to be nominated or approved to join the Beth Am community. But while everyone can join the Beth Am community, is that enough for radical inclusion? What more can be done if we're going to embrace radical inclusion as a social commandment? For example, what if I don't believe in God? What if I'm not even sure I'm Jewish? What if I don't have the money or social standing to feel comfortable in such august surroundings? So while the atheist and the working class can join Beth Am, it's not just about granting access. Radical inclusion is not the grant of access. Radical inclusion requires a continued graciousness and an accommodation. So that's radical inclusion. Another principle that I would put out there for you is called decommodification. Now, this is a tough one. I'm going to read to you what decommodification is in the words of Larry Harvey. Our community seeks to create social environments that are unmediated by commercial sponsorship, transactions, or advertising. We stand ready to protect our culture from such exploitation. We resist the substitution of consumption for participatory experience. Well, what does that mean for Burning Man, and what does that mean for us in our Beth Am community? Well, decommodification is not about anti-capitalism. It's about creating a space without commodities and the capital to purchase those commodities so that other kinds of social transactions can flourish. At Burning Man, this means there is nothing for sale except ice. What does that mean for the Beth Am community? Well, I doubt Rabbi Heath or Rabbi Sarah are going to sell the naming rights to the sanctuary. We don't have to worry about that. But decommodification is something more. Again, it's taking the capital and the commodities out of our experiences to leave space for other kinds of social currency. To me, what decommodification would look like in our Beth Am community is that your financial success in the world does not measure your importance in the Beth Am community. Temple events aren't networking opportunities. And consumption is not a substitute for worship or other participatory experiences. The last and the most important principle that I ask you all to try on this evening is the principle of immediacy. Immediate experience is in ways the most important touchstone value in our culture. We seek to overcome barriers that stand between us and a recognition of our inner selves, the reality of those around us, participation in society, and contact with the natural world exceeding human powers. No idea can substitute for this experience. The most important touchstone value in our community, immediacy. Judaism is replete of examples with this concept. Rabbi Hillel understood the importance of immediacy when he ended his famous pronouncement, "If not now, when?" In fact, Rabbi Hillel foretold many of the 10 principles of Burning Man. For example, Rabbi Hillel said, "If I am only for myself, who will be for me?" Well, that sounds like radical self-reliance. If I am only for myself, what am I? Well, that sounds like social responsibility, civic responsibility. And then finally, that grounding gut check question, if not now, when? Immediacy. Immediacy, Larry Harvey acknowledged that immediacy is the foundation for all of Burning Man's 10 principles, and I dare say all of Judaism's 10 commandments. What good is radical inclusion if it doesn't happen now? How do you honor the Sabbath and keep it holy if you don't start tonight? Immediacy. So going back to my original question, did Larry Harvey find the missing 10 commandments? Perhaps. But to my reformulated question, are any of Burning Man's 10 principles suitable for adoption as social commandments for our Beth Am community? My answer is a resounding yes. Tonight, I hereby submit to this Beth Am community the social commandments of radical inclusion, decommodification, and immediacy.
Thank you, David. So we will put...
Who's going to Burning Man?
We're going to put some immediacy into practice right now. I'll ask everybody to rise. We're going to offer the words of Aleinu l'shabeach because it is upon us.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol,
Page 282.
לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Can be seated as we prepare for our prayer of memory. Share these words on page 289. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades. Its substance is consumed and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down in gutters. There's an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. Tonight, as I read the name of a loved one or friend, I invite you to rise in their honor. This Shabbat, we are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Penny Kermit, Philip Heath, Ruth Beckman, Ray Triger, Dorothy Huppert, Irene Levine, Howard Sussman, and Beth Rosenthal. And this Shabbat marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death for Carl Alper, Mark Anderson, Rodney Aronson, Alia Azenkot, Tommy Batat, Brian Bent, Murray Blitzer, Rosalind Blitzer Kramer, Nancy Bosley, Bernard Berger, Samuel Cohen, Lillian Davidson, Herbert Davis, Glenda Derman, Hilda De Sopo, David Dorson, Nasa Fanwick, Robert Feldman, Dora Fine, Chana Flid, Margaret Freiberg, Roy Goldhammer, Harry Goldstein, Arlene Gopin, Jack Gordon, Avraham Bertram Greenberg, Laser Gerfinkel, Helen Hausman, Julius Bernard Hodes, Edward Hoffman, Evelyn Hoffman, Alexander Irvine, Dustin Moore Ives, Irene Johnson, Israel Kahan, Dora Kalb, Andrea Carlin, Hyman Carno, Chaim Kravoshi, Leonard Lambden, Harold Lightstein, Leo Levy, Stephanie Levine, Meyer Lewis, Miriam Lewis, Joseph Leitz, Lillian Lippy, Lillian Luria, Todd Laurel, Caroline McHenry, Sharon McCarthy, Sarah Mednikova, Oliver William Miller, Paul Moskowitz, Idel Newman, Ken Oshman, Barry Plotkin, Armando Quiros, Janice Raffle, Joe Rando, Lawrence Reback, George Ryder, Nettie Ryder, Sidney Resnick, Jack Roston, Mika Seiss, Lillian Schiff, Benjamin Schnorr, Mitchell Schwartz, Donald Seiler, Earl Schenken, Ala Scheuket, Gregory Speyer, Sylvia Sopkin, Ann Stein, Fred Stein, Richard Stein, Louis Steiner, Melissa Steiner, Murray Stoppel, Alice Tobler, Lillian Trigob, Moisey Tutman, Rona Weinstein, Joseph Wishko, and Moisey Yampolsky. If there is someone whose name I haven't read, who you're thinking of, I invite you to rise in their honor and share their name. And as a community of strength and solidarity, we rise together as we turn to words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimru amen.
You can be seated. This month, our tzedakah box funds are going to the South Palo Alto Food Closet. You can find our tzedakah box right in the back of our outdoor chapel. You can also donate online through our website or Venmo us. We're Beth-Am. The South Palo Alto Food Closet began in 1979 when several local churches came together to feed people who did not have enough money to make it through the month. Today, the South Palo Alto Food Closet, which is housed at the Covenant Presbyterian Church on East Meadow in Palo Alto, continues to serve area seniors, people living in parks, vehicles, and shelters, and other individuals without consistent housing. So we encourage you to give generously if you're able to do so. I also want to recognize that this Shabbat is, sadly, our last Shabbat with our wonderful cantorial intern, Gabriel Lehrman. Gabriel, it has been such a pleasure to get to know you better over the summer. I mean, we've known each other in passing for a while now, but certainly lovely to get to know you better, to be able to stand alongside you in partnership up here on the Bima, and to just sort of be able to have a front row seat to your incredible talent. You really, your voice and your kindness are top-notch and unmatched. I know Russell mentioned to me just how much he's enjoyed working with you as well. And certainly know that your warmth and your soulfulness and your kindness and your care and the values that you embody, not just on the Bima, but certainly every day in working with the staff and the clergy, will serve you well for a top-notch cantorate. So we wish you all the best in whatever comes next. I know you're going back to school in just a few weeks, but may you continue to go from strength to strength, and come back, visit us, sing with us often, anytime.
I promise.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just so nobody is worried, he's not leaving empty-handed. We are sending him some important materials for school that will, I think, arrive in the coming weeks.
I don't think anyone was worried about that, but I appreciate it.
All right. I'm just letting you know that they're coming. We didn't want you to leave here empty-handed, hopefully full-handed and full-hearted as well. So we're going to end our service tonight on page 353 or 657, Prayer for Peace, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
Join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And thank you to Skylar on the drums.
Yes, thank you
to Skylar on the drums.
And to Russell on piano.
Woo.